Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be looking at the crown chakra, also known as Sahasrara chakra in Sanskrit. So the chakras within our body are the 7 main energy systems. Now some people say we have up to thousands of chakras within our body. They say that every energy point within our body is a chakra of its own, but within this series we're only focusing on the 7 energy centers, which are known as the 7 chakras. The chakras originate from the Vedas. This is an ancient Indian text. That is where they found the origins of the chakras. Important to always keep in mind where things originate from. I know in the new age currently people use a lot of these terms, maybe it's thrown around a lot as part of the new age, but it's actually part of the old age. Now, the chakras within our body are a good way to know what's happening within ourselves energetically. Now, what I will say in this video is I will give you guys the overall general information of that chakra and what that means, but I'll also be sharing with you guys things that I have observed about that particular chakra, observed within people, myself, clients back in the day when I did Reiki, the collective overall. A lot of the time, you guys will notice that in my videos, when I do talk about certain things, especially astrologically, I do connect them a lot of the time to chakras. For me personally, it is a point of focus to get more information. So it's a good way for anyone who is interested in psychic work and psychic development to basically find your drishti. This is the gaze in yoga. In yoga, we have something called the drishti. It's the gaze. So basically what this means is when you're practicing yoga to get yourself out of your head and out of like the focus of the posture, you want to see maybe a spot in front of you where you are focusing on that particular spot, that particular place on maybe the floor or whatever it is. Maybe it's on your mat and you're focusing on that thing so you can get out of the mind and you can kind of get yourself into that meditative state. So for me personally, when I gather information, that's my focus and it's my focal point, and then I relate everything back to that. I connect things, I connect the dots. So as usual, you guys can take what resonates, leave behind what does not. I'm not saying that this is all to do with the crown chakra. It's just been my point of focus when it comes to the crown chakra. I have focused the energy in this particular chakra from my own observations and findings. I'm not saying this is the rule of thumb by any means. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The crown chakra located at the top of our heads. Some people say that it is about 2 inches above our head, the crown chakra. Really interesting. A lot of symbolism happening with the crown chakra. So the crown chakra is a crown. So this is really interesting because when we look at people who wore crowns, royalty back in the day, the illuminated ones, I'm going to kind of talking code here. Maybe people who know things about this plane that not necessarily the everyday person knows. Why were they wearing crowns? To extend their crown chakra. We also have head coverings in a lot of different religions. Why do people cover their heads? This is a question. You have this happening in different religions, but in one way, shape, or form, at least the way that I've seen it psychically, is that these people are protecting their crown chakra. So we have had back in the day, right, people would kind of extend the crown chakra in whatever way, shape, or form they could have, whether that was wearing a crown or something of this sort, a hat, something to kind of extend the crown chakra back in the day. Even what I'm psychically seeing are those guards in England that wear those really long hats. I'm sure that a lot of roots of this are connected to the crown chakra, because the crown chakra is our connection to the divine. It's our connection to the creator. It is our connection to the higher realms, is really what that is. So anytime you guys are channeling, getting information, psychic information, it's coming through the crown chakra. What else do we have in religious texts and scriptures? We have that halo, okay? Either a halo, literally when we would see angels happening around the head, or that circle happening behind the head in a lot of paintings and a lot of these types of ancient scriptures and things. Now, it's important to understand the roots of all religion are spiritual. This is what's really important to understand. If you guys are interested in theology in any way, shape, or form, I do have book recommendations on my page. It's way back. Maybe I will post it in the description box below for you guys to kind of learn the spiritual roots of things. So this is what's really important to understand, because currently I call it broken telephone. So currently we're living in broken telephone of the perception of religion. It's become very materialized and very shadow masculine. So in a lot of religions currently, unfortunately, what's happening is it's seen and perceived through a shadow patriarchal lens. Can't even call it a patriarchy, because if we lived in a real patriarchy, the world wouldn't be the way that it is. It's shadow patriarchy, shadow masculine energy, And then in turn, we all have these energies within us. People have lost their place. People have been disconnected from the creator, from the divine, from their own connection to the creator, and these types of things. To connect to the creator, to connect to the divine, you have to get in tune with your feminine energy. This is for everybody. So regardless of whatever gender you were born into, the most important thing to understand here is that we all have these energies within us: masculine energy, feminine energy. Now you might have a core energy that you operate more out of. Okay, maybe you're more feminine energy leaning, or maybe you're more masculine energy leaning. Okay, that's why back in the day, people would kind of pair off, right? Because one person was more in the feminine, one person was more in the masculine, but you can kind of achieve these energies within you as well. This is important to understand. I'm not going to go too much into the esoteric aspect of things and how we've fallen and how we've separated even into having two genders. That's a whole conversation of its own, but we're slowly coming more and more back into the self. We're coming more and more back into that neutralized energy within, and so we kind of come out of this energetic plane. That's a little bit of a preview information, I guess, for that esoteric aspect of things. But that's kind of what's happening with the crown chakra. It's incredibly challenging and difficult to connect to the crown, to connect to the divine, to connect to source, the creator within, if you're not in tune with your feminine energy. And what is your feminine energy within? It's your emotions, first and foremost. Your emotions, that heart space, heart center, the love within, intuition, feeling overall. This is why it's important to get in tune with the emotions and get in tune with your feelings. I'm not saying, like, you know, that scene in Mean Girls where that girl's crying and she's like, I wish we could all love each other and bake a cake and be a happy family. Like, I don't mean that type of feeling, right? Because that's what's important to understand. It's like, again, you know, there's been such a shadow feminine also perception of the feminine energy as well. It's like it's been demonized, it's been forgotten, it's been lost in the shadows, the actual true essence of the feminine energy within. And this is once again within all of us. You say to someone in tune with your emotions, they think they're going to be overly emotional and crying. And you know, that's the thing to understand. When we're purging, you are going to be releasing these emotions. But what's important to understand is, like, even when we're babies and young, the emotions are easily expressed, especially crying. So the whole, I guess, science, I don't know if it's the science aspect of things, but I heard this somewhere. It's like the whole reason people would cry is to show other people that there is something wrong. So it's like a way of getting us to basically help each other. But what's happening is, like, we've been so disconnected from the emotions. People have suppressed it for whatever reason, not been in tune with it, been kind of focused on other things, those lower chakra desires and wounds and all these types of things. Survival is the biggest one. So as soon as you're pulled into your root, it's hard for you to go into your crown. This is what I've been saying in this video, or these videos at least in this series, is that, like, personally, I have just observed, this is just my own observation, so you guys can take it with a grain of salt, but I've observed that the chakras, yes, they all work together. So if one of them is imbalanced, then another one is compensating and working overtime to compensate for the one that's not balanced. But also what I've noticed is that the chakras sometimes tend to work in pairs. Okay, so I've noticed for people who are too much in the crown. So when I say too much in the crown, what is this? Sometimes you might be overthinking, sometimes you might be so far into the crown, like off into the ethers, into space. You know, when people say, like, you zone out and you're in space, or you're like not in your body, or you're just like kind of escaping, that's being too much into the crown as well, but in the shadow. If you're too much into the crown in any way, shape, or form, or just engaging in the psychic realms and the spiritual realms, because it's way more fun up there definitely than it is down here, at least. But the thing is, a balanced person is able to take psychic information and apply it in the physical plane and in the physical reality. Because going back to what I was saying to you guys way at the beginning, with the roots of the tree are the most important part of the tree. So you want to be grounded as a person, so you can receive, first of all, grounded psychic information, and then be able to ground it into this physical reality that we're living in, into this current time that we're living in. That's what's important to understand. And that's why a lot of things, when they no longer apply, so like, let's say there's a lot of, like, maybe information in terms of like energy work or energy healing or things that are maybe in religious scriptures or whatever it is, if it's no longer applying to the time that we're living in and it doesn't pertain to this time, unfortunately, if you're applying those things or you're doing those rituals or you're engaging in that type of energy work or whatever it is, if it doesn't apply to the time that we're living in, you're actually then engaging in the inversion of it. I hope that makes sense, because I know that's much crown chakra vibes, but that's what's important to understand. Okay, with all things to do with like energy work, like even magic, like all these types of things, if it doesn't apply to the current time that we're living in, and it's something that maybe applied to an ancient time, I'm not talking about future so much, I'm talking more so ancient. So if it's something or a tradition or like some form of like energy, like spiritual thing, this is really what I'm talking about here. So if it's some form of like energy type of thing, ritual that pertained to something maybe even 10 years ago, and it pertained to that time, and you're doing it now, you're actually connecting with the inversion of that, and you're connecting with the dark aspect of that, because it's no longer applying to this time. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's probably going to make sense at a different time in the future. Okay, so the seed has been planted, but that is how it works. Okay, with the crown chakra, so you have to be grounded. So this is how it works. Okay, so the crown chakra is connected to the root, from what I've observed. So people who are too much in the crown, if you're too much in your mind, or you're too much in the overthinking, or you're escaping, or you're zoning out. You might be forgetful, for example. You might not be in this physical reality. You might be having a hard time engaging in the physical reality because you're escaping from it. I mean, it's hard not to escape from it because it's pretty dusty down here, but anyways. So that's the thing. You want to be grounded in the root and in the crown. You're too much in the root and you're too much in the physical and you're too much about, I want to make money, I want to get gains, I want to be this type of wealthy. It's fine to have those desires. What I'm saying is if it turns egoic in that sense, where it's like you're almost operating from a scarcity mindset. You're too much in the physical reality and then you can't basically connect to the spiritual, to the divine, to the higher levels, to the higher vibration. And it's like, then you might become cynical, for example. And it's really hard because we talked about this in the root chakra video. When people get triggered into the root chakra, this is where all the ancestral stuff is, all the fears, the fear of death, like all of the things that have happened in the past within the family lines and things that have never been transmuted. As soon as that wound gets triggered, you get pulled down into the root chakra. So you start behaving out of your primal instincts, whether that is fight or flight or whatever it is. I'm not a psychologist. That's my disclaimer. I'm just someone who knows a lot of information and connects a lot of dots together. So that's what happens. You get pulled down. In here, you want to be balanced. You don't want to be too much into the crown. So being too much into the crown could go into overthinking. Even if you're overthinking, you're still disconnecting yourself basically from the creator, because it's like if you're in your highest, truest, purest form, whatever that is for whoever is tuning into this video. You're in tune with your heart resonance. You're doing something that you love doing. You're not affected by the earthly things. Okay, all these things are a trap. This is important to understand. I know that a lot of things we do need to survive is just what it is down here, unfortunately, but really what's true is like when you do clear a lot of these things and you really are living in your soul's purpose and you're living in tune and in alignment with the creator or your higher self or whatever terminology you want to use, everything really is provided for you. Everything really does come. Now, I know that's easier said than done. All these things are done by design to keep people trapped in the lower chakras. I always see the devil card in the tarot. The devil card is a very good example of this earth plane. The devil card in the tarot represents Saturn, first of all. So I personally feel, this is just my own opinion, this earth is ruled by Saturn. Okay, it's very Saturnian here. And I always see this one clip that I saw. This really has nothing to do with anything. It's just what I psychically see when I think of Saturn every time. Someone made this like montage of like how big the planets would be if we could see them, like we see the moon, and Saturn is like huge. So I always see that psychically anytime I talk about Saturn. So now maybe you guys are in there with me. I always see that psychically when I talk about Saturn. But anyways, so I personally feel like Earth is ruled by Saturn and it's ruled by all these lower urges. Was it always like this? Probably not. But for the current time that we're living in, it's like this. So it's that devil card. It's those temptations, it's the things that pull us down into those lower chakra wounds or desires or compulsions even. This is what I personally believe that a lot of religious texts and scriptures have been trying to teach us. Regardless of whatever religion you follow or followed or whatever it is, like the thing is, all of them, if you read all of them, they're all trying to say the same thing. They might have their own twist on it. Somebody might have added this thing into it, maybe taken out that thing. Whatever it is, if you read all of them, you will get a good picture of what is actually happening down here on this earth plane. And it's interesting because it's like when we look at division and all these types of things, it's really interesting to me because it's like some people think that this is the truth and some people think that that's the truth. My perception on things is I think there's truth in everything, but I also think there's two truths and a lie in everything as well. This is why you really, really need to get in tune with your heart space so you can use your discernment to figure out what is the lie that's mixed in with the two truths. Because if you're connecting to the lie, this is going to that inversion that I was telling you guys about earlier. If you connect to the lie, believe all these things, right? Like let's say it's something that you're following, whatever it is, any type of belief system. There are two truths and a lie mixed in there, and that's all done by design. This is for absolutely everything. Any form of information that we receive is always two truths and a lie. Just from my own observations, and I'm really not trying to put fear out there. Like that's not my intention here. I just want people to really get in tune with their heart space and really, really develop their discernment to see what actually resonates with them and what actually resonates with their soul and what they feel like is the truth for them. Not just because somebody told you and not just because it's something that's been passed down. So this is what's the whole, I guess, tricks of the trade here. So what happens is when you're connecting to true truths and a lie, so it's like you believe this thing and you think everything in there is facts, and you're connecting to the lie, you're actually connecting to the lower astral plane. And then it turns into a dark energy because you might not know what it is that you are actually connecting to. So this is why the discernment is really important. And the only way to develop discernment is through experience, through trying out all these things and seeing what resonates in the heart space, coming back to the feeling, coming back to the emotion, coming back into that truth, because it's like truth resonates throughout the body. Like you feel it in your heart space. That is the only way I can explain it. It's not something that really can be taught. It's just something I think that is experience. And this is why, let's say Gnosticism, a lot of their beliefs came through their experience. You experience something throughout your life and then you develop a belief because you have experienced that particular thing. So this is all connected to the crown chakra, because it's like sometimes people are too open in the crown and it's like they don't know how to regulate the energy, and this is how entities might attach to you. And I'm not trying to fearmonger again, but this is just the facts of the plane. And this is once again what I think a lot of religious scriptures were trying to teach people, but everyone just kind of got like lost in the shadows. But anyway, so it's interesting because a lot of things come back down to the connection to the creator, which is through the crown chakra, and then the love vibration, the love space, the heart resonance. This is what it's all connected to. It's all connected to the emotion of love, and it's connected to the love of the creator loving you. I'm not trying to get like religious or preaching in this video, but that's just what it is with the crown chakra. And then it's like when you're operating out of a healthy crown, you are basically protected. You're basically in alignment. And you're basically operating through, I guess, what some people will call these days a higher self level. This is what I think a lot of people knew back in the day, the quote unquote illuminated ones, although there's so much more to say about that. That would probably have to be a video that I can't even put on here, my thoughts and opinions on that. But this is the overall vibe. There's something here that they knew, so this is why they would paint these people in like the ancient pictures with a little circle around their head or like the halo and these types of things. Now, another thing that happens in this earth plane, because a lot of people have been disconnected from their crown chakra, is they tend to seek that connection. People are constantly seeking some form of connection, but a lot of the time they're putting it on another person. They're putting it on another person because they're seeking quote unquote love. But really what I believe they're seeking is their connection to the divine, their connection to the creator, their own life force energy, their own love energy, because everyone has this. And eventually, I'm not saying out here like don't be in relationships and these types of things. Okay, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I think people seek it in the wrong place. This connection to the creator, they're seeking through other people. And this is why sometimes relationships go downhill, because it's like people are seeking that and putting it on another person instead of looking for it through the creator, and then maybe getting into more conscious relationships, let's say. But that's the whole thing here. So it's interesting because it's like I do feel like a lot of things are rooted in this, being disconnected from the creator. And then people who are, I talk about this a lot in terms of 12th house people, they're already psychically open. So that's the whole thing to understand here. So it's like because they're psychically open, a lot of the time these people are tapping into the collective unconscious, people's shadows, because a lot of people are unconscious. So when we're unconscious, we have a lot of shadows. And because we have all these shadows that we're unaware that we are operating through these particular shadows or wounding. That's kind of what's controlling and taking over the show. Let's say you have an abandonment wound and you got a great opportunity to leave your town, for example, for whatever the job is or whatever the opportunity is, and you might not want to leave because you're afraid to leave your friends behind or your family or your partner or all these types of people. Well, that's your abandonment wound that is now controlling you. You don't want that to happen. You want to be in your own alignment. People are still going to be here if you leave, or if someone has an issue with it, well, goodbye to them, because they have now shown you their true colors. Now, a huge shadow of the crown, yes, is cynicism, but it's people trying to connect to the creator, to these higher vibrations and higher planes through substances. This is where we get into tricky unknown territory, because it's like, once again, if you haven't integrated your lower chakra wounds, it's going to come through when you do go into maybe the higher chakras through substances or something of the sort. Basically what happens when we do any form of substances, whether that is any drugs or alcohol or anything that really opens us up, sometimes it's just an addictive compulsive behavior also that can open us up, but that's a different conversation for a different day. I think I touched on it in the sacral chakra video. But regardless, when we do something that opens us up, it opens our crown chakra up, you are now open. Your energetic field is open. You might not know that you're open. That's the whole thing here when you're unaware and you're unconscious. You don't know that you're open. An entity latches on and is like, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's go higher and higher and higher. So this is the whole thing here. And I mean, you know, it's complex. I can't really go over it in like a couple of minutes in this particular video of everything that's really connected here. Maybe you guys have kind of connected the dots as we went through the sacral, because the sacral is connected to this. So this is what I mean. If you have any wounds, it's going to come to the surface. And it's interesting actually, because something that I've been thinking about is like, a lot of people have maybe talked very negatively or poorly about the new age, and it's fine. Like some things in the new age, again, two truths and a lie with everything. Two truths and a lie with absolutely everything. But when we look at certain things, like let's say you go for maybe some form of Reiki or energy or quantum healing session, the person pulls you into the higher vibrations. You're being pulled up into the higher vibrations. When you go into the higher vibrations, all the negative stuff is going to come to the surface. So it's really interesting to see how some people are going to demonize it. That thing is demonic, that person is demonic, that modality is demonic, but it's actually that person's own demons that are coming to the surface to be cleared and healed. That's the whole thing to understand here. So that's kind of what's happening in the world currently, because we're going through a higher vibrational shift, I guess you can say. We're going into the higher frequency, a lot more light energies coming through, like whatever it is. Because we're going higher, all of these lower things that are chilling at the bottom are coming to the surface to be cleared and healed and reassessed. What's important to understand is like everything is us. I'm really taking you guys into the crown here. So a lot of people externalize, they always put it on another thing or a person or a place or whatever it is, but it's like if there's certain things that are coming to the surface, and this is collectively, it always happens micro level, macro level. Okay, so this is a good way to see how everything is connected at the end of the day. So if it's happening in your everyday life, or if it's happening on the macro collective level where something is coming to the surface, it's coming to the surface to be looked at, purged, and transmuted. So unfortunately, a lot of things have been loops in this current plane and reality that we have been living in, because things come to the surface to be looked at and cleared. Unfortunately, people go back into the same pattern, same way of being, and then it's like we go through the cycle all over again. So that's how it's all really connected. So that's the whole thing, crown chakra, root chakra, because it's like in the root chakra video, I don't know if I said in the root chakra video, I think I mentioned it in one of my lives recently, but it's like the root chakra, which is the lower subconscious, the way that I see it, once again, I'm not a medical professional, this is just how I psychically see it, is like the root chakra is the bowels and it's the lower intestines and sometimes the colon. The way that I see it is like you go to the bathroom, but there's still residual things on the intestines. Still didn't get cleared, even though you cleared yourself when you went to the bathroom. So that's sometimes how I see the lower subconscious. There's these residual things here that still need to be cleared. It kind of keeps coming up until it's fully clear. So that's kind of how it's connected to the crown. Crown is you basically bringing in that higher vibrational energy or connection to the higher vibrations. Love is really what that is. And when you connect to that, stuff comes up to be purged. And a lot of these purges are all of these lower chakra things that we have talked about previously in the previous videos. Now for the crown chakra, I haven't mentioned the elements. I did Google it. It didn't give an element. So it is what it is. I mean, how can you really put an element on something that is so vast and larger than life? It makes sense in a way. Another thing that I also wanted to mention is the color of the crown. So it's violet traditionally with the chakras, but sometimes it's white or sometimes it's even clear. Okay, so there's that aspect of it as well. I'm sure you guys have seen maybe crystals as well that are going to help you connect to your crown or your third eye, things like amethyst, things like quartz, clear quartz. All these things basically help you clear and go into the higher chakras. And if you guys really want to go super high into your crown, there's something called Lemurian quartz. It's really cool. This crystal, I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. I think I gave it away to someone, but the thing is the crystals serve you for however long you're meant to work with them. So within the Lemurian quartz, what's really cool about this one is it has these little like lines inside, and within that quartz they say that these lines are all messages. So really cool. I remember when I got the Lemurian quartz, because I'm super in my crown right now, it took me straight into my crown, like wow. But the whole thing here is with the crown chakra is our connection to the divine, connection to the creator, connection to something bigger, larger than life, the belief that there is something bigger, benevolent, obviously, because it is the higher vibrations, the good, positive vibrations. That's the game here. The game with the chakras, you get pulled down, you want to go back up, or you might escape. So there's that aspect of it as well. But it's like if you're escaping, escapism is on a range. It could be through substances, it could be through thinking, traveling, like whatever it is. Why are you escaping? Okay, what are you escaping from? Yourself. But what is it within yourself that you are escaping from? So that's the whole thing here with the crown. I mean, there's honestly so much more to say. But back to the substances thing with the crown. So that's what happens. It opens you up, right? So if you're not grounded in your person and you don't know what's going on, it's going to open you up to darker energies to latch onto you. And most people unfortunately are unaware of this and they don't know how to transmute that energy when that does happen to them. So sometimes it's better to not even dabble in that world if you're not sure of how to transmute the energy and close your aura back up. Because the whole thing here is, even when we look at absolutely everything, even when I was mentioning, let's say the head coverings to keep the energy within. So it's interesting, something that I wanted to talk about in this video as well were the bandhas. So it's really great that we're touching on this at the end of the series, because I actually wanted to talk about it in the root chakra video as well. We have something called the bandhas within our body. These are the energy locks. So we have the Mula Bandha, which is located in your root chakra. Then we have the Uddiyana Bandha, which is located in our core. And then we have the Jalandhara Bandha, which is located in our throat chakra, our throat space. And it's interesting because these bandhas are used when we are meditating. I'm not sure if there is one for our crown chakra, because really the bandhas, you yourself are going to basically be locking in the energy. So you're locking the energy in so you can kind of have that clear energy circuit going on. This is in yoga, by the way. So this is how the energy kind of contains itself within your body. And then it's interesting tying it back to the head coverings on the crown chakra. You're trying to also contain the energy within the body. You want the energy to be your own. You don't want it to be leaving or like evaporating, I guess, in a way out of the crown chakra. I mean, I'm sure there are many other reasons as to why people wear head coverings, but these are only a few, at least from what I have observed energetically, at least, is to contain the energy within yourself, within your person, because then your energy goes out. So that's the whole thing here. We want the energy to go outwards, okay? Because when it goes out, your aura is strengthened. So your aura is strengthened, you're protected, okay? Because your aura is strengthened, but also you're magnetizing things towards you. I mean, I could talk about energy work all day long, but this is the overall vibe here. I think I'm going to wrap up the crown chakra video here. The crown chakra is our connection to the divine, to the creator, to the other sides, the other realms, the other higher vibrational places, although it could also be lower vibrational if we do go into the shadow of the crown. So this is the crown chakra. We want to be a grounded, a balanced person with all of our chakras working together. You will fall out of balance depending on circumstances in your life that do take place, but the more that we work on ourselves, the less certain things are going to affect us throughout our lives. So I do hope you guys enjoyed my chakra series, exploring these 7 chakras within the body. If you guys did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.